Family members of victims who were kidnapped during a train attack in Kaduna have given the federal government a 72-hour ultimatum to rescue their loved ones unhurt. The relatives are threatening to explore other means if the government failed to do so within the stipulated time. According to them, the terrorists have insisted on negotiating only with government. And Lupe Asom reports.
Tears flow freely. It has been 15 torturous days for these people whose loved ones were abducted by terrorists during the train attack on the 28th of March. Most of them say they now find it difficult to sleep, knowing their loved ones are languishing in the bandits' custody. Seeing some of them surrounded by armed bandits in the latest video released by the terrorists only make matters worse.
So we are assuming that there should be about 140 people that are still in captivity. We are just like living corpses. You know, it can be very agonizing not to know the conditions of your loved ones. These are people in the bush.
President Muhammadu Buhari, please come to our aid. Please, we are begging. This is barely 15 days. We're begging. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, you're a mother. If you're a mother, you know the cry of a baby. You know the cry.
They say the terrorists are only willing to negotiate with the government and have for 12 days refused to talk to them. But they are unhappy with the way the situation is being handled by the government and the Nigerian Railway Corporation.
We expected that by now, the government, the Nigerian Railway Corporation, the Ministry of Transportation, they are supposed to have identified relatives of these victims and address us to tell us what efforts they are making to rescue our loved ones, what they want that they want to discuss with government, that they have something between them and government. We don't know what they have. It is now an opportunity for government, it's a window of opportunity for government to rescue our loved ones by opening channels of communication with them. This is not out of place. It is done anywhere in the world.
They are giving the government 72 hours to respond and secure their loved ones unhurt. Failure to do so, they say, will leave them with no option but to explore other means.
72 hours to do what is necessary to bring out our loved ones. In the event that they fail to do it, we are ready to do what is necessary to secure our loved ones. But we know government is in a better position to do it.
They also say prayers for those abducted, calling on God to come to their rescue. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
And joining me on the news from Abuja to discuss the spate of insecurity in the country is a defense and security strategist. He's also a former captain with the U.S. Army, Bish Johnson. Good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm sure that you're also following the news currently. We've seen attacks in Plateau State. We've seen attacks in Benue. We also just reported an attack in Zamfara at the College of Health, where 5 students were taken. One has, now escaped. But this is not the first time a school will be attacked in Nigeria. We saw several schools attacked last year. And one would think that some sort of security measures would have been taken to protect these schools. I just want to get your thoughts on this latest attacks and what you think is actually going on here.
Well, good afternoon and thank you for having me. What is going on here is an indication that the security architecture that we've had in this country for years, has completely fallen apart. Our security architecture needs to be restructured so that they can be more effective in policing the country. We have been on several networks and several platforms, and we have made it very clear on several occasions that the security architecture we have in place is not enough to secure lives and property of this country. But those in leadership have not been able to listen to us. What we have now cannot give us the desired security that we are looking for. We must restructure our security architecture. Some of us have already called for having state police or subnational police because we need more boots on the ground. As the population is growing and there is fewer and fewer opportunities for people, they will resort to criminal activities. And so the only way to keep the country safe is to keep pace with that growing population and unfortunately the growing number of criminal activities in the country by making sure that we have more boots on the ground. The federal government alone cannot secure this country. It is obvious to every single one of us that the federal government does not have the capacity to provide the security that is desired in this country to keep lives and property safe.
Whilst you talk about security architecture, and I'm sure that security strategists will agree with you on that, because we've heard a lot of times that we're actually short on numbers required to protect this country. But there are those who have also blamed this on a lack of strategy. Some have blamed this as well on lack of intelligence, because when you keep attacking similar facilities, for example, educational facilities, shouldn't there be a strategy to ensure that these educational facilities within the states are protected? Is this really just about security architecture?
Now, look, these things are, if you want to provide protect the educational sector, the question will be, where will those resources come from? Because all these infrastructures and sectors are all competing for the same number of resources. We have a steady number of police officers. We have a definite number of military officers, but we have so many places of security and interest that needs to be protected. So anytime there's reinforcement in one particular sector, you have opened up a hole in the other places that you have pulled down resources from. So that is why we have to do take some drastic measures. We have to increase boots on the ground. And increasing boots on the ground means you have to recruit and train more people, and you have to fund them. You have to give them all the logistics, the capacity that they need to be effective to succeed. And the federal government alone cannot do it. I don't know how many times we can say this. They can't do it. We have to have everybody playing a role. The federal government has to play a role. The sub-national government have to play a role. And the private sector will also have to play a role. I have talked about the use of private security guards. This is one sector that could have been effectively managed to complement the effort of the public security agencies. You have over 500,000 private security companies in this country. You have over 3 million guards in this country. Unfortunately, we are not using them as part of our security architecture like it is done in other countries. And the reason is because of an outdated law that bars private gas companies from carrying weapons. And so,
but let me ask you, let me just jump in and ask you, Mr. Johnson, because I listened to the governor of Kaduna State, I think it was sometime last week or 2 weeks ago, when he was talking about some sort of strategy. He said they monitor these bandits, they listen to their conversations sometimes, and that he's now suggesting that the federal government, there should be some sort of simultaneous bombing of these bandit camps and forests in all the northwestern states at the same time by the Air Force. And then there should be foot soldiers who would do the finishing on ground. That's what he believes. What do you make of that strategy?
Well, look, the governor is talking from the perspective of somebody who is not from the military. I understand that he's the chief security officer of the state in principle, but he doesn't understand how these things work. The question you have to ask yourself: how many? What's the numerical strength of Nigerian army? Nigerian army is about 170,000. What's the numerical strength of Nigerian Air Force? And how many airplanes do they have to cover the 6 states that he's talking about simultaneously? And these states include the largest states that we have in this country. Niger State, for example, is about 70-something thousand square kilometers. Okay, so what is the capacity and capability of the Nigerian Air Force and Nigerian Army to carry out such simultaneous operation at the same time? Where those
Mr. Bish Johnson, sorry, I have to jump in again. I'm sorry to interrupt you one more time, because I know you're staying with the numbers that we have. And absolutely, you're right, the numbers are not enough. But if the governor is saying, look, we listen to their conversations sometimes, that's intelligence. Do we need numbers to be proactive in terms of stopping these attacks? Because if you have intelligence in terms of listening to the conversations, it takes proactiveness and not necessarily numbers to ensure that these attacks are nipped in the bud. Mr. Bish Johnson, are you there?
Okay. Okay. What was your last question?
My question basically is not necessarily a question, but I just want to get your thought on what I said. Because the governor has said, Governor of Kaduna State has said, they listen to their conversations sometimes. And that's the conversation of the bandits. And if they're listening to their conversation, it means that they have intelligence. Do you need numbers to ensure that once you have intelligence, you can nip the attack in the bud? Or what you need is basically proactiveness and strategy?
Okay, if that is the case, if they listen to the intelligence, because I've also listened to that thing that was, alleged to have been said by the governor of Kaduna State. If you listen to the intelligence, so what is the reason why they have not carried out the action? Look, these people are not in one place. They are dynamic and they are moving around from places to places. If you listen to that conversation why they are somewhere in Kaduna State and the next day they are no longer there. Sure. I do believe that you need intelligence. Some of all these operations, I've always said, are intelligence driven. Now, if you have intelligence of their location and the intelligence confirms that they are there, the best thing to do is to go in and tactically and strategically, target their particular location and eliminate them. You don't have to carpet bomb 6 states simultaneously with area bombardment and ground forces to do that. So it seems to me that the governor is saying two different things at the same time. If intelligence is there and the intelligence can confirm the whereabouts of these people, I don't see any reason why the Nigerian Armed Forces and Nigerian police, all of them working together, cannot go in there and take out these people. And I don't think it's all of the groups. These people, there is no one particular group that is doing this thing. These groups are all over the place. In fact, this thing has become a commercial enterprise where a particular set of people are making a whole bunch of money, conniving and colluding with, quite unfortunately, a few members of our law enforcement and security agents. So they're all over the place. It's not one particular group. They can listen into conversation of one group. If that is the case, take out that one group and see if you can listen into conversation of those other various groups and tactically and strategically eliminate them.
We'll see how. I mean, it's alarming to see to continue to report these numbers of attack all across the country. Thank you so much for talking to us. Defense and security strategist and former captain in the U.S. Army, Bish Johnson.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure being here.